The government has ended 5 years of haggling and committed itself to Auckland's underground rail project, the country's largest ever transport project. Initially greeted with loud scepticism, particularly from former Transport Minister Stephen Joyce, the City Rail Link opens up the western end of Britomart, allowing more trains in and out of the central city station and providing a more direct central city link to the line heading to the city's west. It will also see the creation of 2 new stops in the CBD. The Prime Minister has confirmed the government will pick up around half of the $2.5 billion cost of the link, which will be built over the next 7 years. But the Auckland Council and the government are still discussing whether drivers should pay motorway charges to help fund it. We're going to discuss this with our political editor, Jane Patterson, in about an hour. The government now not ruling out road tolls or something similar. This is interesting. Coming up also, reaction from Patrick Reynolds of Transport Blog. They're big supporters of this. What do they think about today's announcement? But first, our Auckland correspondent Todd Niall filed this report.
Today's announcement removes previous government conditions on funding and a possible 2-year pause in building the City Rail Link. It gives the Auckland Council the certainty it needs to start major tunnelling under the CBD in 2018, as soon as it finishes the initial stages already underway. The Prime Minister John Key says the government's been swayed by rising rail patronage and more than $1 billion of commercial property developments poised to be built along the downtown route.
What this is really about is about competitiveness of Auckland. So one of the issues is if you get traffic gridlock, if you get consumers not being able to move around, and also if you don't get certainty for some of these big groups. That's what they really want. They want certainty to know they can invest their billions of dollars, which they're going to invest based off this central rail link, that we just need to tell them that that's happening.
The Mayor, Len Brown, made the project his top election pledge in 2010. He says he was always confident this day would come.
My view was that at some point the people of Auckland would speak for themselves, vote with their feet, get on the trains, and they would persuade the government with their actions, and that's what they've done.
Both the Mayor and the Prime Minister expect the cost to be split almost 50-50. But they disagree over the Council's hopes to raise transport funds by charging drivers to use the city's motorways. John Key is lukewarm on the idea.
It reduces the available disposable income of Aucklanders and makes us Auckland as a place to do business a little more expensive. We haven't ruled those things out, but we have said that they would absolutely need to justify them.
Len Brown is unmoved.
The motorway network charge is one of the possibilities, and that discussion will carry on. Some of the advice that you might hear from the likes of Treasury could be that this is an efficient way of actually funding transportation networks.
Mr Key also gave the green light to the so-called East-West Link, a mainly freight highway between Onehonga and Mount Wellington, which links the southern and southwestern motorways. It's been granted roads of national significance status, fast-tracking the planning and consent stages, with construction to start in 2 to 3 years' time. In today's audience was Matt Lowry, an editor from the Transport Blog website and a long-time supporter of the City Rail Link.
It's good that we're starting to see more city-shaped thinking occurring around, Auckland is different from the rest of the country, and that there is some positives to that. But it just means different thinking, so it's good that we're hearing some of those comments from Key.
Kim Campbell, the Chief Executive of the Employers and Manufacturers Association, thinks popular support in Auckland for the City Rail Link has finally persuaded the government to get on board.
What was obvious to everybody else has now become, I think, frankly, a vote-costing thing for the government. They've realised that the people of Auckland have had enough of procrastination. They want to see things happening.
A point not lost on the Prime Minister.
The Central Rail Link is going ahead. I think Aucklanders will judge us on our record across a wide range of areas, but if it comes to a judgment of how successful we've been as an infrastructure government, I suspect we'll get a pretty big tick.
4 smaller but locally important projects elsewhere in the country have also been brought forward. In Taranaki, the Mount Messenger and Awakino tunnel bypasses, replacing the Motu Bridge on the East Cape and replacing a bridge at Opawa near Blenheim. In Auckland for Checkpoint, Todd Niall.
Thanks, Todd. We're going to discuss the politics of this with political editor Jane Patterson after the 6 o'clock news. The government and campaigners for better public transport in Auckland have often been at loggerheads, but today, seemingly, a change. Kim Baker-Wilson with this report.
Right, so we're standing here on the corner of Albert and Victoria Street, right where the Aotea station is going to be, and you can see the early works for the City Rail Link behind me. They're starting to do the preparatory works, moving a stormwater tunnel. The City Rail Link is already underway. it's going to be completely fantastic for this area and in fact the entire Auckland region, because it's a great fix for the Auckland rail network.
Patrick Reynolds is a long-time supporter of the City Rail link and better rail in our biggest city.
This is a little bit of a champagne moment, I think.
What about marks out of 10?
For Auckland, this was a pretty good 8, I'd say. It's not fast-tracking the City Rail link. It's merely catching up with the council's program.
Catching up it may be, but Patrick Reynolds likes what the Prime Minister had to say.
This represents quite a shift in the way that this government in particular thinks about Auckland.
It's a sign, he says, that the government is finally taking Auckland seriously.
A lot of things are very encouraging about today's speech. I especially like the way that John Key couched the decisions about the importance of the Auckland economy for the entire country. I'm glad that he didn't feel the need to announce multiple zillions of extra urban highways, because that era is coming to a close. We have a nearly complete motorway network in Auckland. So the announcement today just gives certainty to the council's program of the works for the City Rail link. So the works that are starting and are about to step up in earnest in a few months' time here will continue seamlessly through, instead of possibly pausing while waiting for the government to get on board.
It's full steam ahead for Auckland City Rail link. For Checkpoint, Kim Baker-Wilson.